How are you?
Doing good, thank you.
What do you, now that you've watched the tape a couple of times, aside from catching the ball, what do you want to see Bill do to take the next step against Jackson?
The decision making, just decision making, quicker decisions. When he's not sure about things, back in the pocket. Much better job of getting the ball down out of his hands instead of holding it, trying to get it down the field. He's got to be able to do that. In the second half of this past ball game, he held it a little bit when he didn't need to hold it. He could have got it out to the backs. He's got to be able to do that. Just a quick decision-making process.
He felt better on the run than he did in the pocket.
He did a nice job, especially getting to the right. He was very, very good going to the right. But he can make all the throws. I mean, you know, his accuracy is very good. So there's not an issue with him going either way and making those kinds of throws. You know, he's just got to be more decisive when he's getting ready to make a throw. You know, just no hesitation. And what happened to him in the past was those hesitations created interceptions because the ball was late trying to get the ball down the field, especially in the middle of the field where most of his interceptions came from.
Called a lot of screens in that last game, pretty effectively, or more effectively than most games. Was that more just a function of the matchup suited it, or were you trying to kind of bake some easier throws in there?
No, Aaron, that was more so because of their rush, the way they rushed. You know, we knew that if we called a few of those, we'd have a pretty good chance to be successful, and for the most part, we were successful on all of those plays simply because of the way they rushed.
Of the offensive line this year, what's been missing there this year, and what kind of things would you want to fix?
Well, the one thing that's been missing is just the continuity with the people that we've had to move in and out and move people to different spots. Other than that, just developing that continuity. We just haven't developed that as quick enough as we needed to develop that, and we're continuing to work on doing that.
Beyond the personnel, I guess, and the things that they've been doing with the people that have been there, what are some of the things that you want to see better?
Well, just more consistency in what we're asking them to do. And I thought maybe early in the year we were asking them to do things that maybe they weren't wasn't their strong suit. And I think now we kind of know what their strong suits are, and we're more so playing to what they do best as opposed to what we think would be a good play for this. This is what we do best. This is what they're very good at. This is what they've been more consistent at.
You talked about that with the running backs too. Is that just a product of being in your first year with a lot of roster turnover, that you're having to learn a lot about your personnel?
Well, Sarah, that is a part of it, but not really knowing, because not having, a full off season. And I don't think if we'd had the off season we would have known more, because we're in shorts. We're not in pads. And in training camp, it was a lot quicker and a lot shorter than what we have normally been accustomed to having. We just haven't been able to get that consistency that we need to get out of that group. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
How do you hope that helps you going into year two, having a full year then of getting to know these players?
Well, I'm not even thinking about year two right now, Sarah. I'm just thinking about getting that consistency into this game this Sunday against Jacksonville.
And going back to the running backs, first, what's your health situation with the running backs? Rex was banged up and David's back from the COVID list. Where are y'all there, sort of depth-wise? And
well,
also,
right now, David and may drew a blank on me. Royce will be our two running backs, just like we had last week. We want less Rex, and then we actually can take our tight ends and use some of our tight ends in a position as a back in some protection things to be able to offset that.
What do you make of how the running back situation played out for you guys, starting off the season with 5 on the roster, and now you're down to, not even Rex out there, just David and somebody that wasn't even one of those 5?
Well, injuries happen, and when unfortunate for us, we've had with David having a COVID was a big setback, simply because it wasn't an injury more so than it was the situation with the COVID thing. But playing those two. And having 3 available, is good enough for what we wanted to do moving forward after the break. We just haven't been able to. Well, unfortunately, we're losing Rex in that particular ball game, and not having David up, was a tough deal for us.
Touchdown before halftime.
past this week?
Excuse
Do you
me.
think Rex's injury is something that'll keep him out past this week?
It's day to day. I think Rex will be okay. He's not won't be able to go this week.
After the long touchdown before halftime, Lonnie Johnson actually played more corner in the second half. Is that position open, and what is the future of that right now?
No, basically we play like we feel like it gives us the best chance to win in that position right now. And Lonnie played strong during that second half, and we'll see this week how it goes as to who's starting there and who's getting the playing time there.
With Terrence, what was Terrence what does he need to work to prove to?
Well, he just needs to play the defense and keep the ball in front of him. Simple as that.
Coach, you talked about Davis Mills and some of the things that you want to see, but what do you think he needs to do in order to have his performance that he showcased against Seattle become a little bit more consistent?
Get us in the end zone in the second half, and us around him, do the things that we did in the first half to give him an opportunity to do that, because we just did not give him an opportunity to be able to get us down the field and do the things in the passing game that we did in the first half. And part of that was not being able to run the ball.
What do you think Justin brings in his return? Coming back off the IR, he comes back, there's two different guards, but when Justin brings in the game, what does he do?
I mean, he's a leader for us. I mean, and he gives us some continuity there, and there's some security with those guys beside him that they feel having him there with his expertise and his veteran leadership.
You've had some. Go ahead.
What's Laramie's status? Are you still have any hope that he can
He's
play?
day to day.
Still hope he can play this season?
I'm hoping he can play this season.
With the defensive line, you've had some success getting up the field with some things there. Why is that so important to the defense and building depth there?
Well, more important than them getting up the field, Brooks, the thing we got to do right now is do a better job in a run game of getting gap control. Sometimes getting up the field, trying to get to the passer is less important than staying in your gap and keeping those big plays from happening because we're out of our gaps. And sometimes that's been an issue of us staying in our gaps, and big things happen. When you stay in your gap, whether it's run or pass, and you contain when you're supposed to contain, you eliminate those kinds of things. And our big plays have come off of when that hasn't happened.
On that, how have you thought Malik Collins has played?
I'm sorry?
How have you thought Malik Collins has played so far?
Malik has played very consistent for us. He's probably been our most consistent guy, game in and game out.
David, how much of when y'all do those quick screens has to do with 4 yards on one of those is better than one of your runs or every 3 points?
Well,
is that a substitute for like the running game?
Not necessarily a substitute. It's one of the ways we felt like getting the ball in Brandon's hand quickly. They aren't necessarily to him, but that is like a run. We have some passes, John, that we have in our offense that we feel like should be like a run, and that's where we talked about Davis moving forward, is that there are passes that we call that, if he drops backs and let it go and throws it to one of our backs right now, that's like a run play for us, and we got to get him to thinking that way.
I know you're saying.
Have you changed any of your COVID protocols based on some of the outbreaks that we're seeing, not only in the NFL but across sports?
Well, the changes we've made is the changes that the NFL require us to make, and usually all those changes come down from the league office. And once the league office gives us those changes, then we actually go by those changes. There's really not anything else we can do. I think our people here, our staff, do a great job of everything that we need to do to prevent this thing from happening. Like I said, all of our guys are vaccinated, and it's still happening. It's happening across the league, and obviously this past week and this past couple of days, there's been a little bit more outbreak.
How much have you been trying?
You have 100% vaccination rate now?
Well, from the fact that Zach was the only guy that we had that wasn't vaccinated at the time. I take that back. Eric, the new Wilson, the linebacker that we signed, was not vaccinated.
David, with all the running backs that you're trying to find depth there and make that work this week, how essential is that in the off season to add there?
Well, again, I hadn't thought about that, Brooke, but obviously that would be something that I'm sure Nick will look at.
Thanks, Coach.
Welcome.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.